Hi, Dr. Eric Westman here with another episode of Learn with Dr. Westman. Today's episode is how much sugar is hiding in your foods. Well, of course, sugar is the bad guy in terms of health, unless you can moderate it, but it's very difficult for many people to moderate it. We're going through a paradigm shift of worrying about fat and cholesterol and saturated fat in the food to worrying about sugar in the food and the drinks. And one way to say it is that the studies just hadn't been done, or the focus was wrong in the past, kind of like using a phone with a cord. You know, worrying about cholesterol and treating it has some benefit in the best case of things. And using a low-carb diet or targeting the metabolic syndrome, targeting sugar and getting that out of the diet is like using a smartphone. So it's not that the phones don't work or communicate. The approaches can both work, but you can do so much more with a low-carb or a keto diet or a smartphone. So that's kind of the reason why I'm focusing on sugar. And I've done videos, and I just want to remind you there's an important reality, and that is there isn't much sugar in the bloodstream. This is a teaspoon. There's a teaspoon of sugar in the entire bloodstream. I've calculated that out from milligrams per deciliter or millimole per liter in other videos. So that's all there is in your entire bloodstream. Less if you're a smaller person or you're a child. So a teaspoon is roughly 5 grams of sugar. And yes, you could quibble about, is it all sucrose or dextrose or is it fructose? And I'm not going to, those are very small differences. And I think it's important to just call it sugar. If it's sucrose, well, the fructose and the glucose both do damage. But this is one reason why counting total carbs, which I recommend, is so effective, because it brings in all of the different types of sugars into that one way of looking at things. So, if you were to say, well, I don't drink sugar, I don't eat sugar, doc. Well, there's sugar in starch. So starches get digested to sugar in our battery acid-filled stomach and small intestine. And so when you eat a potato, pasta, rice, things like that, you're basically absorbing sugar. This is a starch. It's digested down to its components, glucose mainly for the starches. And remember, you're only dealing with a teaspoon of sugar going around in your bloodstream. Prediabetes is an elevated in blood sugar. Diabetes is a persistently elevated blood sugar. That's even a little higher. But the amount of blood sugar when you are diabetic might be a teaspoon and a half or 2 teaspoons of sugar, and that's it, and you're diabetic. So the very tightly controlled system, this bloodstream, and the amount of sugar going around with a blood sugar of 100 milligrams per deciliter is about 1 teaspoon. So now, let's see what sorts of things are hidden in blood and in the other foods you eat. How much sugar? So I went to that wonderful and terrible thing called the internet. And Dr. David Unwin is a friend of mine in the UK, a low-carb doctor, and he put together some charts. Now you can just Google or Bing, use your browser to find Dr. Unwin, that's UNWIN, sugar charts. And so I'm pulling up the sugar charts, and he has it in terms of teaspoons of sugar. And I'll just read these off for you because I can't share my screen, but what you might do is go to go find Dr. Unwin's charts and look along with me. The first one he put together had basmati rice. One serving size has 10 teaspoons of sugar. That's, well, let's see, 12 teaspoons of sugar is a quarter cup. Now let me just go back to the different sort of demonstration here. So there's your teaspoon of sugar. So a quarter cup is 12 teaspoons of sugar, and basmati rice, a serving, has 10 servings of sugar. It gets digested and it gets poured into this little bloodstream of 1 gram or 1 teaspoon or 5 grams. See, even I get messed up. It's just unbelievable. That's just the rice. So a potato, let me see how, reading down, serving size of a potato has 9 teaspoons, French fries 8 teaspoons, spaghetti 6 teaspoons. So we're not talking grams of carbs here, we're talking teaspoons of sugar. And Dr. Unwin's chart has the teaspoons all lined up there so you can visually see. If you have frozen peas, 1 serving has only 1 teaspoon. So this is why we focus on vegetables that are above the ground, not below the ground vegetables. And an apple has 2 teaspoons, depends on the size of the apple. Broccoli has 0.2 teaspoons. An egg has no carbs at all. So this is why if you're trying to limit the blood sugar, and prediabetes and diabetes is a phenomenon of elevated blood sugar, you want to strictly limit the amount of starches and sugar in your diet. You can even reverse these conditions. It's amazing what can happen. So now remember, teaspoon of sugar, going back to Dr. Unwin's charts, the next one shows cereal. Oh my word. Cocoa Pops has 7 teaspoons of sugar in 1 serving size. Cornflakes, 8 teaspoons of sugar. So again, we're getting almost to that quarter cup. And bran flakes, Special K, oat porridge has 4 teaspoons of sugar. So, still that would be more like a tablespoon. But again, remember, this is the amount of sugar in your bloodstream. So you're overwhelming your blood sugar, or your body senses the blood sugar going up, sends out all of this insulin to lower the blood sugar by taking the sugar into the cells and reducing your glucagon production, which raises your blood sugar too. So you want to be very careful about cereal. The next figure or panel or poster that Dr. Unwin came up with is bread. People come to me and say, well, I don't eat white bread. Is wheat bread okay? Well, no, not in terms of sugar, the amount of carbs and sugar. So white bread has 4 teaspoons, brown 4 teaspoons, rye 4 teaspoons, whole grain 6 teaspoons, wholemeal. So you can actually look on the label of all of these different products, so you don't have to take my word for it. We are blessed to be able to have all of this information for us on all of these foods. But remember, a teaspoon of sugar is all the amount in your blood at any given moment. So, those are all individual items. Let's see what some people with diabetes, remember, diabetes is a problem of too much sugar. I still don't know why you want to eat sugar if you have a problem with too much sugar in your blood. Remember, starches get digested to sugar. Bran flakes, milk, brown toast, pure apple juice. You add that all up for a breakfast recommended for someone with diabetes. It's 16 teaspoons of sugar, and that is over a quarter cup. So remember, you're trying to pour absorb all of this sugar into that bloodstream. It must just be like a jungle or a battle going on in there to keep blood sugar coming in. The insulin goes up to keep it down. Again, the insulin is also a fat storage hormone, meaning it tells your body to lower the blood sugar, but also to turn any extra sugar into fat in the liver, and then it gets sent out to the fat cells for storage. And it's very difficult to burn fat when you have a lot of insulin around, and so you're in a fat storage mode, not a fat burning mode. So you put all the foods together for breakfast for someone with diabetes by the mainstream folks, 16 teaspoons of sugar. This makes no sense when your entire bloodstream has just 1 teaspoon of sugar. There's your 12 teaspoons versus 1 teaspoon. So this is where the sugar is lurking, hiding in your diet. People will come to me, oh, I gave up the junk food. You know, I gave up all the sugar. I'm not having sodas. I'm not having tea. In the South, it's just tea, but sweet tea, you have to ask for unsweet tea in the southern United States if you don't know that. And so the hidden sugars, most people know those sources of sugars. The hidden sugars are in the starches. And if you really need to be strict because you have diabetes, a problem of excessive blood sugar, anything over that is basically diabetes. You have 2 teaspoons, you have flagrant diabetes if you had 2 teaspoons of sugar in your blood at the same time, all at once. So yeah, it's pretty startling that people recommend that you have carbohydrates when you have diabetes. Now I'm talking about type 2 diabetes. When I talk about reversibility, you can reverse type 2 diabetes by tackling the source of carbs, which get digested to sugar in the food. People with type 1 diabetes can do low-carb diet. They need less insulin. Just be very careful to lower the insulin. And what happens is they have fewer ups and downs. The blood sugar regulation is much better. So the basic premise is carbohydrates, sugars, and starches. When you eat them, you absorb them, the blood sugar goes up, and in the big picture view of what you're eating, it could be that you've eliminated all of the sugars, and yet you're still getting lots of hidden sugar in the starches that you're eating. I hope that's helpful. Please subscribe and ring the bell and like and all that. And why not even send this to a friend, because it is a grassroots movement that's going on to change the way we eat. And I hope that's helpful. Be sure to look down below for my latest free guide to help you on your health journey. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and check out adaptyourlifeacademy.com.